here, come at you with the next edition of Graders Notes. This when four geeks get together in the same room and try to decide if a book from their fabled past is actually worthwhile. So I'm going to be noodling over here with my other screen for just a second, but we'll take this opportunity to have everyone introduce themselves. So directly to my right, your left, will be Mr. Kenny from Comic 84 fame. Kenny, say hi to everyone today.
It's me, Comic Head 84, live in attendance, of course, with the Graders Notes crew, ready for another hot fire edition. Very happy to see the faithful fans of Graders Notes already showing up. This is going to be a fun one, no
Yes,
doubt about it.
yes, indeed it is. There's a lot of action on this one. That's to be sure. So the lead up is everything. So directly to his bottom right there would be Mr. Metarog, the ambassador of the comic books community, as I so labeled him. So, Mr. Metarog, would you please say hi to everyone tonight?
Well, thank you for that introduction, Gino. I really appreciate all your, you know, setup, shall we say. Greetings, everyone. It's great to be here once again as we compare graders' notes on what will surely have more sparks than Wolverine's claws on Flint, because I guarantee you we have some disparate opinions on this one. So buckle up, keep your fire extinguisher handy because sparks are going to fly.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And as befitting his station beneath me, Mr. Miracle will bring up the rear here and kind of introduce himself to the rest of our great audience here. Mr. Miracle, if you would, please.
Well, I'm from Mr. Miracle Comics. My name is Dave. Today we're doing Incredible Hulk 340, the Todd McFarlane book. God, I hate that man. I hate that man so much. Yes, we'll get into it. But, yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah, I hear you there. By the way, everyone, we're sorry. The book did change on us last minute. We had a technical snafu and a little bit of miscommunication. I blame myself. Actually, I blame everyone else but me. But in the interim, so we're not going to be reviewing the original book that we had planned, which was Legend of Aquaman #1. So we're going to take an easy fallback to Incredible Hulk number 340. As you can see on Mr. Metarog's screen right there. And we're going to dissect this piece of McFarlane history, as it were. So for those of us who have been here before, I'll just do a quick recap. We're going to judge this on 5 categories, technically 4, but the 5th is the overall category. So first, we're going to be looking at the cover to see how it stacks up. Then we'll be going to, no particular order, interior art, concept, and story. So we don't just look at one aspect of the book. We kind of look at the entire thing, including the concept, which could be like, is it a new character? Is it a new idea? Is it just a new series? Clever swipe, whatever that case may be. And then we kind of take an aggregate and make an overall score. Now, what makes this show interesting is that you, the faithful viewer, are actually the 5th grader here. So after every category, we're going to ask you to submit your grades. The lovely Comic Head 84 will break out his trusty abacus and tabulate scores, and then we'll see how it matches up with what we have. So give me one more second to get my timer set up, and we will get this show on the road.
And while you get the timer there, why don't I just give a warm welcome to
The chat.
in the chat, the 5th grader, as he said, Tim the Comic Collector, first in to the squared circle. Good to see you, man. Super Russ 9000. I'm glad with his, our boy Russ has changed his name a few times over the years. But I gotta say, I like this one. I think this is a good fit. I hope this one sticks, Russ. Super Russ 9000. It makes me think of Rob Zombie. Didn't he have an album? Purple something? I don't know. Someone.
Yeah, he did have something.
Right.
Hellbilly Deluxe or something, 9000. I can't remember what it was. Yeah. Super Creep 9000, I think is what it was.
Yeah, Super Beast 9000.
Super Creep, I think it was.
Super Creep. I've been called that before.
Vinyl Nerds Anonymous here.
Yeah. Metarog is in the chat as well as on the screen. Perry Comics lurking with the eyeballs. Thanks for hanging out in the chat. Second Street Marvel. My man, I'm going to have to give him a sub. I'm not familiar with his channel.
Good
Hello,
stuff.
my man, Second Street. Ooh. Tree. And of course, NWO alumni, Jake the Snake, reigning champ in these competition shows, so he's holding it down. And last but not least, uh, one of the pillars of the community, if you ask me, peace sign for life, Unruly Simeon. Thanks for joining, brother.
All right. Hey, I also want to thank Medrock today for kind of hyping up the show tonight on his weekly roundup. Awesome of him, and also an awesome thing to watch every week. Mr. Miracle, you just put out your latest spec video, did you not? Yesterday.
Sure.
5 more undervalued books. Yeah, go check it out. It's a good one. People seem to like that one anyway. I get
That's a great one. I like that one because you get into like more than just a movie tie-in. It's like, okay, the movie's coming out, so this character's going to get hot. So you get really in depth on why you think this book is going to actually take off. So yeah, I really dig that show.
Well, I try to give people a reason, like not just here, this is undervalued, but why? Why are you saying this?
Why?
And then they can make up their own mind if they want to buy it or not.
Right. And Kenny, you just put out a recent contest yourself, didn't you, on your channel?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and I gotta say, I haven't been knocking the door down with contest entries. So do your boy a favor and enter the old contest because it's tough for me, man. Because as we know, I'm still on live lockdown. I can't go live on my channel. It's really hurt my brand. Just kidding. It's a bummer because I can't go live. So, but I am back. I am live now. On the Comic Heads channel with his D at the end. Me and my buddy Vasco, who's had a video game channel for a while, I hooked him back into the comic hobby. So we have that channel. We can go live there, and there's a contest. I'm giving away some sweet books. I'm giving away Rise Zero and Secret Wars #1, which we actually graded on this very show. Those are the prize books. A signed In-Hyuk Lee variant from the Boston Fan Expo. If we hit a certain sub amount, I'm going to give away a slabbed book. I'm going to go nuts if we hit the 5K. So check it out, and it's a fun contest concept. Just check out my channel for what that is. Thanks for
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always good to get in this contest. You had really fun. It's an easy contest to do. Just get out there and do a video for it. It's a good time. It lets you rack your brain just a little bit, and don't just say the same old things. Oh, Superman and Hulk. I mean, really think about the tag team you want together.
Yes,
and,
that's right.
And one day, Vinnie Mac will let you out of live stream lockdown. I have faith. So
yeah.
It's only a matter of time, I would think.
Well, anyway, so I guess you actually have a question there, Mr. Dave.
Yeah, I saw that, but that's actually something that we'll get into when I do one of my reviews here. We'll talk about the value of this comic or not.
All right. So something to look forward to.
Patient on that question.
People trying to get the insider information from you, Dave. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, one of my earlier spec videos, probably about 3 or 4 months ago, I did spec on this book. Right.
Mm-hmm. I seem to recall that.
I'll tell you the reasons why again.
All right. So as we have each speaker come up, I'll try to remember to make it a larger picture. So hopefully I don't mess all that up because I'm juggling a few things here. Time, the sound effect. If you hear the turkey, the 2 minutes is up and you got to start wrapping things up. So we'll go ahead and lead off with Mr. Miracle since he's kind of the first in rotation anyway. And like as usual, I think we can go ahead and start with the most recognizable thing about this book, the cover. So Dave, what did you think about this cover?
The cover? Well, everybody's probably quite familiar with this cover. It's one of Todd McFarlane's most reproduced covers, especially by himself, right? He is captain of the fucking cover swipe, and especially his own cover swipes that he did with Marvel. Not cool, it is, but it isn't. I mean, it's McFarlane and iconic, and I guess McFarlane fans like it. To me, like in this cover, he changed Wolverine's claws forever. They weren't really that shape prior to this book, and he did that so that he could get this reflection. And that's the kind of pissy attitude that fucking Todd McFarlane usually puts into anything that he does. He just wants to change whatever, do whatever, merchandise whatever, just to show off for himself, right? And this cover is a lot of that, right? And you get a lot of that movement in his work, that all the extra lines that he thinks he's putting in detail, and all that scratchy shit that he puts all over that stuff. The reflection doesn't really make much sense based on the angle that he's at anyway with the Hulk there. Like, those blades are gonna have to be pretty flat, I think, or we're gonna have to be at a weird angle. Wolverine's holding his fist like this. What the fuck? Right? Like, give me a break, man. Yeah, no, don't like it. Don't like the big wispy Wolverine mask. Don't like the little tiny beady eyes on his Cupid doll heads that he loves to draw. Don't like the way he draws the Hulk. Makes him look like a fat old man all the time. That sorry, not a fat old man. He makes him look like an old man that used to be fat and had lost like about 600 pounds in 2 months, right? Because he's always got the big saggy skin all over and stuff. Hate the Hulk that McFarlane draws. This cover, I know it's iconic or whatever, and people like it. I think it serves the purpose to let you know what's going to happen in the book. So I gave it a 2.5.
All right, 2.5. So let me get everything pulled back up to where it was.
Okay, that was my nice rant about him. Next one, I'll get a little more tart.
Well, yeah. Please don't hide your feelings next time.
Yeah, don't hold anything back on our account there, Dave.
I'll tell you how I really
Still.
feel in a minute.
Still, 2.5 is not horrible. That's middle of the road stuff, right? So it's not meant for the incinerator right away. So yeah, he's fair with it. So especially after some of the initial thoughts, I thought it was going to be worse than that. So, Mr. Comic Head, what's your take on this cover? Is it iconic, or is this meant for the dustbin of history?
Oh, this cover right here. I mean, I don't have a personal vendetta against Todd McFarlane, so I'm probably not gonna chalk up the shape of the blade claws to his pissy attitude, or whatnot. I'm just gonna talk about this cover right here, brother. I think this is iconic for a reason. I think I thought it was a pretty brilliant move, actually. The layout of having the Hulk's reflection in the claws. You know, I'm a suspension of disbelief guy. When I'm reading comic books about a guy who turns into a beast from gamma radiation and all the rest that comes with comic books, I'm not worried about geometric angles for reflection. I think it looks dope. I think it's a cool visual trick. I didn't realize that this is the beginning of changing his shape of claws. I guess I'm not totally mad at it. I think Wolverine's face looks fierce on this cover. Like a great expression. I'm big on facial expressions. And this one nails it. There are maybe some extra lines that come along with McFarlane's style, but I think it still looks badass. The Hulk's face, you know, isn't as cool as Wolverine's, but I think it's still pretty killer. I think it fits well. It's readable. I think it's one of those covers that you see it from a distance and go, "Oh, that's pretty badass," and then after looking at it for a couple seconds, you'll catch the reflection and go, "Oh, that's really badass," in my opinion. I think the trade dress of this run of Hulk is one of the coolest trade dresses out there. I love that classic, bulky, incredible Hulk trade dress. Simple, the background. You know, they could have did like, I feel like a lot of people would probably just do a solid color in the background, but they got a little gradient. The gradient looks nice. Probably don't even need background art when the forefront image looks like that. I think it's classic for a reason. I think it's killer. I really don't have many gripes for it. I landed on a 4.5 for this awesome classic cover.
All right, 4.5 for Mr. Kenny. All right, so we obviously know he doesn't think this is for the dustbin. He thinks this is for top shelf stuff up there with the
Top shelf, baby.
the Cuervo and the what was that Ron Rico rum there. So, Metarog, what do you say? Do you are you going to be the centrist in this group, or do you have a lower or higher end of the spectrum kind of grade? Fill us in on your wisdom, sir.
Well, I think Kenny did a very excellent job describing this cover without an axe to grind, shall we say. But I agree that the Hulk logo here is just one of my favorites. You know, how it's three-dimensional and it's all broken up, you know, as if Hulk had pounded the ground and, you know, there had been some kind of tremor. I don't like the Hulk figure up here in the price box. It looks kind of like Fred Flintstone after he's had a bender. I don't like that at all, but you know, that's kind of minor aspect. But I think the concept of the cover is really what I like. And Kenny's right that you have to sort of suspend disbelief that the claws are really more flat here instead of cylindrical, where most of the time they're shown that way. So you have to kind of suspend disbelief there, but it's the concept of the cover is so well done. The reflection. I mean, obviously the lighting would have to be just perfect and everything for it to happen. Dave is right about that. It's ridiculous to think that this could be captured in such a perfect way. But as far as a marketing the cover and the impact that it has upon us, I think the reflection in the claws is brilliant. The McFarlane, one of the things that I don't like about him is that he's so hyper stylistic and exaggerated in some of his, especially the poses around the mouth, that red tongue and the white teeth. It looks like Wolverine has one big tooth in the front, so it's a little distracting. It's a little much. I would have preferred it just a little more. Obviously he's excited, he's rampaging, but not to the point where he's just has his mouth agape like a big old bug's about to drill into it. But obviously the furrowed brow, the eyes, the anger, just the violence that's about to occur in this cover is so good that sort of trumps a lot of the really negative things of that mouth and those age lines. So to me, I think it's a way above average cover, and I give it a 4.
A 4 from Mr. Metarog. So obviously above average for you, and some great points there too. As per usual, when you go last, sometimes there's a little less meat on the bone, but I'll try to make a meal out of it. So let me get my timer reset. This is a little hard when I'm doing this all by myself. Let's see. Timer there, and let's get a big look at my ugly mug. All right, so what do I think about this cover? Well, unfortunately, I had to do this one digitally since we had a last minute switch over. I don't actually have this this book. I think I might have had it, but I think it was one of the ones that got lost. Of course, we all had this back in the day. I think it's one of the ones that I got lost all those years ago in the Great Flood. But so the cover itself, those of you who know me know I am no fan of Todd McFarlane's work. It's nothing against the guy personally. It's just not my cup of tea. I usually don't care how he draws the characters, at least their heads. I can appreciate the amount of detail he puts into his work, and he's a very talented individual. It's not my style. You know what I mean? So it's nothing against the guy personally. It's just I never really cared for it. But this album or this cover it's iconic in a couple different ways. First off, a lot of people, when they see a comic cover, they think, cartoony stuff, and there's no real aggression scene. This cover is all about aggression. I mean, both protagonists here look like they're ready to kill each other. So it's perfect. The geometry is off, of course. Lighting is questionable. The claw differences, doesn't match up, but it just makes for a good cover. From a business standpoint, it's brilliant. So if I'm walking by as a newbie, just some 12-year-old kid or whatever, it's walking through the grocery store and this is on the rack, my eye's going to be drawn to this thing, and I'm probably going to want to pick it up and read it. And that's the key to a good comic book. Someone got to pick it up and read it, not just the people who have stuff in their pull list. There's a lot of hands out there who can pay money that aren't going into comic book shops. So yeah, it grabs the eye, and it definitely makes you want to dive in and see what is going on inside. How did this start? How did this happen? Because most of us have, by that point, been aware of their original fight all those years prior, but you hadn't really heard anything about it since then. And the other smart thing about this cover actually is, back then, you had Punisher, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider, and if those guys were like a guest star in a book, it's just sold. So I mean, you put them on the cover and it moves copy. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, while I'm not a huge fan of McFarlane's art, it's not that it's all bad. Like, I like his Wizard cover he did, and I think he draws the Hobgoblins real well. But like I said, for the most part, I'm not a huge booster of his. But this one just works, man. There's so much going on there that's to like. And this, it just gets a 4 from me. It's much better than average. I mean, there's some things I don't like the size of Wolverine's mouth and all the extra little tick marks and all that. And, I can look past that because it's just a cool idea. It's an awesome idea for a cover, and I think it's very deserving of 4.
Nice.
4.
Agree.
4. So now we get to find out what the fifth grader thinks. So go ahead and start putting your votes into the comments, and then we'll tally them up there in just a moment. In the meantime, we'll start doing some friendly banter, just to kill time.
And
Yeah.
you know what I realized is cool about the StreamYard is now, as like when Metarog goes down the line and lists the votes, you can like click on the thing and show their vote
Oh,
on the
yeah.
screen.
That's right. That's right.
I sure can, if I remember to click them all. Simeon, you make a good point there, Simeon, about the way spice webs are drawn. They're much more three-dimensional when McFarlane gets a hold of them. But, what's funny is I remember there was an issue where he actually made fun of that in the issue itself. Like, he was surrounded by webs, and he's like, why do I shoot so many of these things anyway? And it was like kind of a play, McFarlane's own play on himself that I thought was kind of funny.
He did draw cool webs, I'll give him that. But other than that, fuck off.
Yeah, they
Getty.
They had a lot of detail. The webs had very, very, a lot of the older artists would just sort of shoot kind of a grayish lattice, and he had it, he had it very, very detailed, and every little strand had a little bit of texture. So yeah, you have to give a credit where credit.
And I think he was one of the first, I think, that really started contorting Spidey's body as he swung and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of unique as well.
Yeah.
Yes, Comic Collector. He was gray for quite a while, actually. It was his second phase, or I guess third phase, you can get technical, of Hulkdom. But yeah, that was mostly in the late '80s and a little bit of the early '90s before he switched to Professor or whatever it was. So,
all right, I have the grades. I have the grades from Hialeah Comic Bro because he sent them on Instagram. So we're gonna have him in because he wanted to be here, but he had other commitments. All right, Kenny, you got the Super Abacus up?
Yes. Right.
All right, here we go. Okay, Comic Collector Tim 4. Our buddy Simeon 4. Steve Whiting, AOK Master himself 4.5. Bake the Snake 4. Grayman says 3. The claws bug me, and Hulk's face looks meh.
I like Grayman.
Okay. Yeah, sure you do. Super Russ 9000 gives it a 3.5. And Hialeah Comic Bro gave this guys a perfect score, 5.
And getting the Hulk actually sorry, Dave, you're sitting there going to say something, but I was never a real big fan of the Hulk, but Gray Hulk was my favorite iteration of him. I thought he was the coolest version of all the Hulks, just in my based opinion, I guess.
Love the Hulk. Metarog, you're a fan of the Hulk too, right?
Oh yeah. I started. That was one of my very first comics that I read back in the early '70s, and I continued all the way, I think, right to the Dale Kuhn run is where I gave it up. Yeah.
Oh please, you had the original Tales of Astonish off the friggin' newsstand.
No, I'm not that old.
We know how old you are.
Not that old. No.
Would you say the Hulk's your favorite character?
What was that?
Would you say the Hulk's your favorite character?
No, when I was younger, yes. When I was first starting reading comics, definitely I could really as again, since I learned Spanish first, I was learning English later. His vocabulary, limited as it was, kind of appealed to me because I could understand him more than I could a very verbose kind of comic like Agents of Nick Fury, things like that. So
makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, well, Mr. Kenny, what do you got there on the Abacus of Doom?
Yeah, so Chat Grade gave it a 4. Chat Grade was a 4.
Ooh.
And Russ makes I think that's a good observation from Russ, where he says, at a distance it looks amazing, but up close, small details take points off. I think that's a pretty good point.
Well, in fact, I'm glad he brought that up because that's something I'm going to bring up in the interior art. So.
We're actually going to skip to the story next. We're going to get a little bit different order here. So, okay, so we have a pretty, what the consensus say is kind of an epic cover. It looks like an action-packed cover. So let's talk about the interior story. Was it just an action fiesta, or was it more of a dialogue-driven story? Kenny, what's your take on the story?
Oh boy, this story. Let's see. Peter David. This story, there's one main aspect of the story that just killed me, and it's Wolverine's narration, Wolverine's inner monologue. I don't know if he knows who Wolverine is, or has any experience with the character, but Wolverine sounds crazy to me. He sounds so poetic and philosophical as he, is contemplating this battle with the Hulk. Like, let's see. Here's this page after, as he's battling with the Hulk. His narration is, I stand there, howling my triumph to the moon I can't see, but in the heart, hidden by my heaving chest, I know he won. That
Yeah.
that's not Logan, dude. That's He's not gonna wax poetic like that, and he does it through the whole fight scene. So like, when all these battle scenes are happening, you're getting this weird Wolverine dialogue accompanying it the whole time, and it's a bummer. Um, there was this really bad pun when he mentions the leader. He's like, because Wolverine is now the leader of the X-Men in this era, and he's like, someone tries to crack a joke, and he's like, I'm not laughing. Nothing's funny when you're the leader. And it's like, oh, let's jump to a leader panel. So witty. Not witty. He didn't even really. I feel like he almost injected the leader into this one page just so he could do that pun because he really serves no purpose, which that angers me even more. Um, I don't know anything about what the even after reading the whole issue, they bookend the issue with the snow globe situation, and I still don't know what that means. Maybe if I was reading it all the way, the whole series, I'd have a better idea. But I mean, he writes or directs fight scenes, I guess. I'm not sure how much writing prowess it took to be like, have them fight for half the issue. I don't give him much credit for that. The one thing I'll leave one compliment on, he writes that the Hulk gives one of his big sonic slaps, and Wolverine points out that a guy like him with the super sensitive hearing, that's like dropping an atom bomb on his head because it picks up so cool. I thought that was clever to point that out. So overall, it was really a bummer as far as the actual writing, particularly the Wolverine parts. That's why I went with 2 for the writing.
I'm sorry, what was that grade again?
Dose 2.
All right.
Those.
All right, we got a 2 there from Kenny for the story inside. So yeah, definitely didn't keep up with the cover art there, at least for my man Kenny. Mr. Metarog, what's your take on the interior story? Is this War and Peace, or is this a dime store trash romance novel?
Well, let's upgrade it to one of those $2 paperbacks I used to pick up over in the drugstore. Okay, let's give it a little credit there. Yeah, I mean, what Kenny's talking about, there's sort of a dual running story, one which is going on some of the top panels, which I think is Peter Pad is he's big into metaphorical storytelling, and I think this is sort of a visual and scripted metaphor with Betty Ross, Bruce Banner's wife, and she's contemplating the turmoil in her life and the different downturns that occur in a relationship with somebody who is actually 2 people, and there's no stability. There's always chaos, and she does it through a snow globe, and of course in the story it's snowing, it's stormy, it's windy, and that's sort of a bifurcated metaphor, I believe. The story is, it has good points. I mean, I think he's trying to sort of juxtapose this encounter, which is the first since they met back in Hulk 181, their first, physical encounter, shall we say. And this time he sort of role reverses. The Hulk wanted to get away. Last time he just wanted to be left alone. And this time it's kind of Wolverine who wants to be left alone. And there's a lot of interior strife with Wolverine, wanting to be in control, but knowing that he's really a berserker. But that it's done kind of clumsily, but I kind of applaud that concept at least. And then there's the X-Men, that are included here, and he's the leader, but they're kind of just in the background of the plane crash. There's also a really bad joke here. I don't know if you guys caught it about Dallas and the show about who shot JR. That it was a dream sequence. I think it was here where I'm sorry, I'm taking long here, guys. I think it was right here in this panel here where Havoc, right there. Kind of odd in joke there. Unless you're an old fogey like me, you might not have gotten it. But I think the fight scenes were written okay. I agree with Kenny totally. The inner monologue of Wolverine is totally out of character. He's not Shakespeare. He's somebody with a much more raw mentality. But I do like that the kind of banter during the fights, and I do like the concept of this as being a kind of reversal of that first encounter. So overall, I thought it was just a little better than average, and I gave it a 3.
All right, a 3 from Mr. Metarog. All right, that's a little better than average. Yeah. So I'll be up next to the plate, and let's see if I can improve upon that score. Let me get this pulled up over here. My timer. Sorry, guys. I gotta keep myself brief. So story-wise, yeah. Some of the aforementioned stuff is pretty obvious. The inner monologue definitely seems out of a place for him. Wolverine's a man of few words. Hulk talks a lot in this one too, but that was kind of the Gray Hulk thing. He talked a lot.
Yeah.
But the inner monologue was a little bit jarring at times, and I guess it kind of set up the conflict within himself. Darth Vader style or whatever, but I don't know. it just didn't seem to fit the character. I did like how he quit. I guess he quit smoking at this point, so they made some reference to him really wanting a cigar or something. That's toward the end, but I will say I kind of dug how they got the fight going. The random set of events, Hulk jumping out for food and almost running it. He almost hits the X-Jet or whatever. And then he does hit the freaking 747 that's flying above him. And then the engine is thrown down there by Rogue, and it hits right there by where Hulk is. Of just this completely ridiculous random set of circumstances that got them scrapping. But I kind of dug that. That was kind of cool and funny. But everything else I could have done without. It's just kind of a here's my word coming up, serviceable story. I mean, it was just basically an engine to get two Marvel heavyweights together to fight. Nothing sells a book faster than two heroes fighting on the cover, right? And so I'll give this though, at least the fight inside the book lasted for a long time, because a lot of times when you get these superhero fights that are all hyped up, it's like 2 or 3 panels, and then they go the separate way, or they make up. And this one actually they never even make up at the end. Hulk just leaves because he's really nasty. Actually, the Gray Hulk and Wolverine are a lot alike in both ways. They're real antisocial. They're both misanthropes. So, and the fight was really good. I thought the fight was really good throughout. It kind of and it actually reiterates something about Gray Hulk I didn't really realize, but according to Logan, his healing factor and stuff bumps up when he's angry. I wasn't sure if the Gray Hulk did that. I knew the green version did, but it was just kind of cool to say, okay, maybe this fight's turning against me now. All of a sudden, he's realizing that he's still fighting. Gray Hulk's gonna start winning this eventually, and as he should. He is the Hulk, for goodness sake. I never liked how long they used to have Wolverine last against him. Of course, he fixed that in Planet Hulk, but or I'm sorry, World War Hulk. Hold on, got a spider coming down for some reason. Sorry, Peter. So yeah, it's just a serviceable story to get two heavyweights together to fight. Satisfying fight, but everything else, the snow globe allegory was kind of interesting, I guess, with the the whole freakish weather pattern. I didn't read the previous ones. Is this because of Storm's power loss or something, that the weather's going nuts, or is this the leader's machinations? I couldn't really glean that from the single issue, but whether it is or not, I don't know. Someone will let me know in the comments. But yeah, it was just serviceable, but nothing too erroneous or nothing too bad about it. So I gave it a 2. It was okay, but nothing really to write home about. Actually talked a little over there. Sorry about that, guys.
Should we even ask Dave about this one?
Oh, he's chomping at the bit, man. We're gonna go ahead and skip Mr. Miracle tonight for the rest of the show. But all right, well, let's get
I see claws coming out of his hands already.
Let's get a non-jaded look at things. So, Mr. Miracle, what did you think about? His
beef was with McFarlane. Let's see how he feels about Peter David.
This is true. Does the writer bear the sins of the artist? Let's find out, Mr. Miracle, if you would.
All right.
Oh dear. He's pulling an Arthur here. All right.
He's pulling. Oh man.
And you just killed Metarog.
man.
Thanks a lot.
Let's get into this.
If it drives him to drink, I don't even want to think about what's going to happen.
All right. What the fuck? This is a boring story. This is supposed to be like an epic fight. First off, did Wolverine's balls drop off? Like, what the fuck? The whole time he's sitting behind the controls of anything, he's like, I don't know. Will I be a beast? Will I be a leader? Will I? Oh, and then he does the writer, he does that one really bad, annoying thing that I hate when writers do, and they go down the list of everybody and talk about their powers. Well, geez, we'll use my luck power. Well, Rogue, why don't you use your superpower and go out and save that? And I'll use my psionic power. Like, shut the fuck up. We know who the X-Men are. All right, you don't need you to explain their superpowers, and I don't need you to do whatever you're doing to Wolverine there. I mean, there's Wolverine, man. If the Hulk is like attack him, and then he's gonna be like, nah, I don't want to fight. Bullshit. He's like, oh yeah, Bob, let's do this, right? Because what he does, he's the best at what he does, but what he does isn't very nice. And when they pussy him up in this book, I'm just like, oh my god. And then they make the Hulk whiny too, right? Like, he's like, I don't want to be there, and I'm hungry, and I'm just gonna go out and get something to eat. And it's like, and then everything's so coincidental, and then they finally meet up, and there's like, yes, finally the battle, and let's fight, and blah blah blah. And they never shut the fuck up in the whole thing and fight. There's like panel to panel after word pages, and then finally they end on this weird note where the Hulk gets shot with a bazooka, and they're all like, oh, you're right, let's just like chill. I mean, this is Wolverine in a rage. This is Hulk in a super rage, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. Right? Like, you're right. Like, thanks for shooting me with the bazooka. It kind of brought me around. Like, no. Hated the story of this book. I hated this particular time in the Hulk. And Hulk used to be my favorite, and I actually stopped collecting Hulk right around this time in the Hulk's period. I give the story a lackluster 2. It kind of is good in a way of putting these two guys together in a fight, but yeah, wow. 2. And I did like the joke about Dallas.
You did like that one. You showed your age there, Dave.
Did you have your Sue Ellen poster up in your room or something when you were growing up?
My mom used to watch Dallas every Friday. I was like,
my grandma did too. I had to watch it all the time. That and Lawrence Welk.
Grandma,
so don't feel
that
bad.
makes me feel good, Gino. That makes me feel great. There we go.
I can introduce you to if you like.
Yeah, I've been married 26 years, buddy. Trust me. At this point, nothing new coming into this life.
Are you kidding? She's got parrots older than you. All right. So, all right. So there's our scores. I'll just go ahead and give you a quick rundown. We got 3 2s and 1 3. So chat, 5th grader, what is your take on the story inside? If you've read it. Once again, sorry I didn't get enough time to preemptively read this book. But yeah, so what did you think? Have you read this, or just from what you've heard from us, what's your take on it? Put your scores in the chat box, and we will tabulate up. And in the meantime, let's start on some random conversation here.
Yeah, man, I was totally thrown off by the Wolverine monologue stuff. I'm like, who is this tortured soul in this book, man? It was like, it really stuck out to me the whole time. And
yeah, that was terrible.
That was kind of the turning factor of why I didn't like it.
It was, I think he wanted to reverse the roles from their first fight. And it was very unnatural. It was very bizarre and very distracting. I agree that if I based it on that, I'd give this like a 1.5 because it was just so out of character. But you know, the fight banter I think was pretty good.
Yeah, what'd y'all think of the fight inside? Was that at least worthy of the cover? Not for you, Mr. Miracle, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'd like to see some better splash pages and stuff. I'd like to see them shut up and actually fight for a while. Like, we don't need to explain everything blow by blow, right? Like, could have easily, and it's not even like they're just like Wolverine lands. He's like, yeah, and oh look, and my claw is pierced 3 inches below the sternum, and this part of the section of the ribs was cut open. And now it's healing at a rate of 44 cells per nanosecond. It's like, shut up, shut the fuck up and fight. Like, fuck.
What?
Well,
Well,
this
so much for
particular
monetization of
Grey
this
Hulk
video.
was very verbose. So, yeah, this particular Hulk loved to smack talk, Dave. So that's kind of something you kind of had to put up with. I mean, this was a really, I think, a Peter David creation. This particular iteration of the Hulk. So it was sort of like him trying to find a vehicle for his writing style. So, you're right in that sense, but it was a much more verbose and much more, very, very belligerent Hulk.
Now, is he Mr. Fix-It Hulk when he's gray, or not necessarily?
He's getting there. He's getting
Yeah,
to
when
be
he goes to Vegas,
Yeah,
he
he's
turns
getting
into
there.
Mr. Fix-It.
Yeah,
He's kind
Yeah.
of
yeah, he's getting there.
this just happened to him, and it was like one of the really, really stupid concepts in the Hulk, where the Hulk would only turn into the Hulk at night, and then he'd be Bruce Banner all day.
At night.
But he turned into the Gray Hulk, but he wasn't stupid. And then later on, he went to Vegas and became Mr. Fix-It as the gray, not stupid guy. And
That was the original premise for Hulk, though, right? It was that when the sun went down, he became Hulk. I think.
Yeah, originally.
Yeah,
He was
so.
gray in the originals too, but it wasn't showing up well on the print or whatever, so they changed his color.
Yeah.
Because Immortal Hulk did, I think, a pretty good job with that idea of the sundown Hulk thing.
Yeah, they just couldn't justify it, so that they had to change it because they couldn't find a way to justify that. What did the sun have to, or the moon have to do with it? He wasn't a werewolf, so.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it did have some connection to the moon, and it was weird.
It was weird. It was odd. Yeah, it was bizarre.
He's a Lycan. Who knew? Who knew?
Yeah, right. I mean, in this one, he has a lot more fur than in the Green Hulk, but that's another issue. All right.
True. All right, so let's get on to some scores here. Any last second scores? Put them in now.
Ready, Kenny?
Oh yeah.
All right, we got a whole bunch. So, Unruly Simeon 2.5, Comic Collector 2.5, based on what I've heard. Joe, hey Joe, welcome. 47771. Sorry, that's just his name. 3. Steve Whiting 2. Gray Man, been a while, but 2. And Super Russ 2.5 from what I've heard. But Hialeah Comic Bro gave the story a 4. So he liked it.
Oh.
He liked it a lot more than we did, guys.
Oh,
I read a lot worse. I mean, don't get me wrong. It just seemed out of character. If they hadn't made Wolverine so out of character, it probably wouldn't have lost as many points as it did. But it was just so strange. And like you said, the blow by blow monologue during the fight. When you're fighting the Hulk, you are not doing an interior monologue other than I need to get the hell out of the way.
It was just a bizarre way of telling a story, which is kind of the Peter David way. It's, to me, he's always been a little bit odd in the way he does stories. Some of his later Hulk stuff I thought was better, but still it's a little too verbose in a non-Claremont kind of way, just kind of an odd kind of way.
it's almost talking down to the reader when you're doing play-by-play.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I know more than you do. I'm not crazy about it.
I can almost see what McFarlane's drawing there.
All right, what's the score?
It would be a 3, 2.75. So I guess that makes it a 3.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
So they actually
Hialeah's
a little higher than us.
curve. Yeah, I think
I'm right.
rounded it.
I'm right with the chat today, guys. Yay!
He's an outlier.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
you are.
is.
Yay!
Well, we'll see if that holds up because our next category is going to be the interior art. So I'm very curious about what you guys thought about this. So since you gave it the highest score last time, Edrog, why don't you go ahead and go first? Tell us, what did you think about the interior scriptures inside and all the characters within?
Okay. Well, you can get away on the cover with some artistic license, some exaggerations. But on the interior, you have to relate a story, right? And I think McFarlane struggles a little bit, especially when it comes to details, right? Like as I was saying before, when it's a telescoping shot, I'm not really sure what's going on here. Is that like a globed house or is that a vehicle with lights? I mean, it's so odd that it's so hard to tell what he's drawing at a distance. There's not that many artists like that. And the Hulk, he looks, kind of like I think Dave was saying, he looks like an old man, with these lines here. And that ridiculous shirt that stays on the whole fight, even with one strand around his shoulder. Totally absurd, especially when he's jumping up and the shirt's going in different directions. I mean, is there a crosswind there? I mean,
I think he gets his shirts the same place as Captain Kirk.
Right. He does have some nice static shots here of Havoc and Long Shot. Right. But then you know, a couple of things like this. Another one. What is going on here? What is that dropping there? Obviously, I would assume it's the engine, but can you tell what that's an engine? It just looks like a big rock that exploded. I mean, his lack of detail in those long distance shot is it's terrible. And what happened here? I mean, that's like very artificial shadowing there. Just doesn't make any sense to me. The leader, again, nicely drawn, static shot leader, very nicely drawn, I'd say, with the, all the brain matter coming out. I mean, that's fine. But some of the action shots are just way oversaturated with stuff. There's stuff falling, stuff dripping, stuff flying up, flying around, just way too convoluted, way too busy. You need to make the Hulk the central figure there and figure out what he's throwing there. I don't like the lack of detail that he has in those panels. And then here's the last thing I'm going to say. Some of the panels, Wolverine looks like translucent. I don't know if that's a coloring issue, if that's an inking issue, if there's something to that I'm just not getting. Is there some kind of hidden allegory there? I don't get it. Again, I do like a lot of his static figures. I do like some of his action poses are good. His layouts are average, but panels are too busy. Details are really weird, especially in the long shots. And, some of those lines and those teeth that look like it looks like one big massive mouth of one tooth. I mean, it's just weird. So I want to give this a 2, but again, I do like some of his static shots. The head of the Hulk is totally out of proportion. But I do like his static shots. I do like some of the facial features. So I give this right down the middle average, 2.5.
All right, 2.5 for the interior art. Well, let's see if I can improve upon that. But spoiler alert, I don't think we're going to be. So let me get this going down here. And let's start rolling. So interior art. Once again, I have kind of voiced my thoughts on some of McFarlane's art before, and a lot of that carries through this book. It's a hard thing sometimes to look at the Hulk when McFarlane draws the Great Hulk. He looks kind of like a melted like clay figurine or something, like kind of mashed together. I mean, he gives him a good sense of thickness, I guess, that way, but I just don't like it. It makes him look too stumpy, and he's supposed to be this huge, towering kind of guy, and he just looks kind of like a troglodyte or something, Most of the other characters look okay. I mean, nothing to write home about. And the action scenes, I think, do look pretty good. But the rest of the book is kind of just ho-hum. And I don't know. I don't want to say rush, because it looks like he spent a long time actually on this book inside with all the extra little ticks and everything. And there's a lot of details in this book, other than, like you said, some glaring ones like the engine. You can't tell what the heck that thing is. It looks like a Thunder Fist or something coming down.
Yeah, a good one.
But yeah, there was a weirdness there with Wolverine looking almost translucent and kind of like a jellyfish at some points, and the color seemed a little bit off. It needed to be more striking dark colors against the snowy background. It would have made him pop a lot better. But I mean, I don't know. Once again, it's going to get a serviceable out of me. It's just not my cup of tea. I just don't really care for the style nearly as much. I like less stylized and more plain. I hate to say the word plain Jane, but more photorealistic characters like Rick Levins and people like that. That's kind of art I prefer. So I don't know. Kudos for him for doing the whole book, I guess. I mean, instead of just the cover, he did the entire thing. So that's kind of cool. So you don't always see that. Because he was pretty hot back then. I think he could have just made it to where he just doing covers and he would have been doing just fine. So yeah, so kudos for him. That good action scenes and all that, but not nearly as good as the cover. And that's to be expected most of the time. But yeah, there's a little bit of color issue in this one too, and it's a newer age comic too, so it's a little less forgivable than, like, say, the early '80s stuff and the '70s stuff. So I'm gonna give this one like a real middle of the road grade, 2.5, but keep in mind that's actually not too bad of a score for a McFarlane book in my book, So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a 2.5, right straight down the middle and very serviceable. Okay, so my serviceable grade notwithstanding, Mr. Miracle, what's your take on the interior art? I'm sure this is going to be a live one.
Hang on a second. I need a refill.
Dude, just drink straight from the bottle and skip the middleman.
Oh man.
This is what Graders Notes does to people.
Oh boy.
Cheerio.
I tell ya.
Well, you suck that
I
one
should
down
stay
too.
awake
You
for
didn't
the
do
rest
that
of the
during the
episode,
Liefeld books.
What the fuck? Interior art sucks so much. Oh my god, it's so McFarlane. Big Cupid doll heads and little beady eyes. Look at them all, beady eye everywhere. You got a beady eye, you got a beady eye. Oh, there's the leader. He's got beady eyes. I hate this leader. I like the little guy with the mustache and the big head. I don't like the brain leader guy that they did.
Half-Life.
They seem to kind of take on or catch on in that sort of form. I guess he's more interesting. I've seen other artists do this leader much, much better than Todd McFarlane does it, though. Lots of black shadows for no apparent reason. Lots and lots and lots of lines that he's pretending are detail. Lots of melting hulks everywhere with the big jowls. And then, oh, this one kills me. This one, I'm going to steal this one for sure. What the hell is that panel? I mean,
Oh man.
dude, Rod Liefeld kicks this guy's ass all over the place.
Oh man.
This is ridiculous. They don't have any big, like, the biggest, this is the biggest splash page they got, and it's like sliced into 4 panels. I mean, he's so lazy, just that, like, just black. It's just black. I didn't do my page big enough. Well, just put a black bar at the bottom. That'll work. Just put it black. Fucking lazy cunt. Sorry. He gets my dander up.
Just a warning to all those with kids. This might not be the
Yes,
show for watching this evening.
may not be family friendly tonight.
Graders Notes PG-13 for sure. Do you think a lot of kids watch your channel, your horror movie reviews, David? Anyways, yeah, lots of lines that don't make any sense, don't add detail to things. Like, there's our engine again. Sure, a lot of lines in that panel. None of them on the engine to make it look like an engine. And the big weird Hulk that's so look at this. That Hulk in there. What the hell's the matter with him? I'm melting. I've got like it's looks like his head just deflated into his face. You know what I mean? Interior art. 0.
Wow, you heard it here, folks. The first 0 ever given on Graders Notes. Something lower than Aliens vs. Predator books in your scorecard. That's amazing. I can feel vindicated now. 0. Can we actually give a 0, or do we have to give a 1? Is that going to throw off the aggregate too much to have a 0?
Nah, he can give it a 0, I guess. Yeah.
But okay, so I take it he didn't like the interior art there. So yeah, fairly.
I think that's the crown speaking there, but you know.
Well, if that's the case, I better not drinking it. It'll be 0s across the board. All right, it was a 2-second review. So, all right, thank you for your input there, Mr. Miracle. Glad to hear that you enjoyed the interior art. So, Kenny, what was your thoughts on the interior pencils and inks and all of that other good stuff?
Yeah, I think a lot of your guys' points was valid. But one thing's for sure. One thing that like stuck out to me as I'm reading this book, it's teach this dude Todd how to ink. I feel like his inking skill is very low. I feel like he never really properly learned how to ink. Like, look at this page where everything is very pale. There's no ink like accentuating anything. There's very little definition. I think McFarlane thinks that inking means just trace over your pencil with a pen, with ink. But there's a whole, as we've seen, as we've dissected through these books, an inker has an influence on the way that the finished product comes out, and I think he totally underestimates what you can do with ink. There's, these panels where you just don't know what's going on. The messiness of it. Um, when he does try to shadow, it's always like really drastic. Like, look at this panel. He just shrouds Hulk's face in black. That's what he thinks shadowing. So that's one thing uh, I actually, I kind of dig the entrepreneurship of McFarlane and indie comics. You know, raging against the machine. I guess of the big guys. I've always respected him for that. But from following him, he wasn't like classic. He's a self-taught artist. So was Liefeld, and I think it shows a lot of times in some of the art theory that you pick up from proper art school, having an art professor. Um, Jittery as hell line work. It's almost like he was drawing this page, but they were jackhammering his street outside while he was doing it, and it's like he was vibrating the whole time while he's drawing it because there's no like clean line. Everything's very shaky. I don't think the I don't think the body compositions are particularly good. Like the head of Wolverine looks really big for his body. Sometimes the heads are too big. Sometimes the heads are too small. There is one page where the best image he has of Wolverine in this book, and he actually uses shading very well. I really like this panel of Wolverine. That's a nice use of inking and shading, cool pose. I really liked that one panel of the Wolverine that he drew. I thought kudos to him on that. You guys had pointed out that for a battle issue, that's what this is. Want to see the Hulk and Wolverine duke it out for a book? There really isn't one good definitive splash page. But when you're doing a battle issue, you should have multiple really home run splash pages. Just lean into the fact that it's a battle issue, and you really don't get that. There's one page that I want to finish off on that is a kudos that I thought was cool, even though I don't think it was executed great. I thought the first person perspective of Hulk throwing that boulder was pretty slick. I really dug that. So that was a cool page to me, visually interesting, whole nine. But in saying that, I was not impressed. I landed on a 1.5 for the artwork inside.
Mm.
1.5. That's a pretty low score for Mr. Kenneth, man.
Wow.
It earned it, brother.
Yeah, it was the funny thing is I was a little kinder to this book than I thought I was going to be. So that's actually does my heart good to know that maybe I was at least a little bit objective, right? So
Right.
I originally had a 2, and there were just a few panels that I thought were fairly well executed, so I gave them a little more credit, but I almost had it at 2.
you know what's funny is no one else mentioned it. Oh, by the way, chat, it's time to start putting your grades in there. So what did you all think about the interior art?
Yeah.
Whether you've seen it or if you just heard it through us, give us your grades now as we go on with this more witty banter. So something else that I was wondering if you guys would mention, the leader's look in this. Does anyone else think he looks like Tom Savini? If you guys know who he is,
A
with that
little bit,
freaking
yeah.
handlebar mustache.
Yeah,
That's
a
cool.
little bit, yeah, a little bit. But I don't think that this was a McFarlane. I think previous to McFarlane, he was like, I may be wrong about that, but I thought I'd seen him previously like that. I thought he looked more like the Mars Attacks aliens, like with the,
Oh, just that Fu Manchu mustache. Where did that come from? I don't remember seeing that before.
yeah,
But because he always had like the Errol Flynn mustache, didn't he? Because he was like a 30s character
yeah,
or 40s character.
yeah. But
It's just so funny looking when I saw that, man. I cracked up.
yeah,
And yes, I have been on the Friday the 13th kick lately, so everything I do ties in somehow with Friday the 13th.
yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Let's see.
definitely not a fan of the interior art in this.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
so,
definitely.
something else ties in with Friday the 13th, as we were mentioning Dallas this evening. Did you know that W.C. Voorhees of my last interview for Friday the 13th, Part 5, was actually a stand-in in Dallas, 12 episodes?
I know
Fun
because
fact
I
there.
saw the interview.
Yeah. Fun fact
Small
for those who
world.
didn't see it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
Yeah,
the time. It's like what is it? What was that show? What was that thing that was back a few years ago? Like 5 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon or something.
Yeah, that was real popular.
Yeah.
Or was it Kevin Bacon? Or yeah, it was Kevin Bacon. Because I think of Fred
Kevin
Ward, but yeah. He did all right.
Yeah. All right, guys, here we go.
All right, Mr. Mad
Well,
Rob.
Kenny, if you're ready, that is Kenny.
Sure am.
All right. Let me start with Hialeah first here. Ooh, guys, he gave it a 4.5.
Yeah.
Look at that. 4.5. Yikes. Okay.
He's gonna rewatch this episode in horror.
Yeah, he's gonna rewatch this and said, "Man, you guys slaughtered my book." Comic Collector gave it a 1.5. Unruly Simeon 3.5. Nah, you see, Simeon, he says all of us have valid points, but he still likes McFarlane. Steve Whiting 1.5. Joe gives it a 2. Oh, sorry, that was a. Oh no, I'm sorry. Grayman 2.5. Russ 1.5. I like the look of the leader, but the rest was kind of. And there's a pile of manure with a smile there. And that's it.
Can you tell me Highly is great again?
A 4.5.
4
Yeah, we're not counting that one. No.
I
It was
was thinking before he did this.
while he's tabulating. I won't say that. Like once again, I don't know Todd McFarlane. I don't know Rob Liefeld. I've never met the guys. I have nothing against them personally. I think my big thing back then was I was kind of mad at how much attention they got from the industry and how many good series they got to do. And there were so many guys toiling in obscurity that I thought were much better that didn't ever get those shots that they did. So that's what kind of used to tick me off about it, But I don't know. That's just me, I guess.
Well, they know how
Being
to
edgelord.
promote. They knew how to promote themselves.
I'll tell you what, and
Right.
they ran with it, and they knew they took everything they can get while the product was hot. And that's real smart, and they're obviously a very smart businessman. And
artistic talent and business savvy are two different skills, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
correct. Very different.
Well, I'm not saying McFarlane's not a good business guy. I mean,
Yeah,
the guy
you can't say
is the biggest
that.
merchandise bitch ever. Like,
Yeah.
he's worth $300 million, I guess. Like, that's some serious comic book money. Now, he left with all those other guys. He took all those other guys. I don't see Jim Lee being worth no $300 million. I don't see Rob Liefeld being worth no $300 million. Like, Todd McFarlane is a greedy pig, man.
Well, he diversified big time. Those
he
figures
diversified. Yeah,
really.
He had toy lines that were big, all around the world.
He revolutionized toys. Yeah, he changed the game in figures.
Football player and basketball player statues and shit.
Yeah.
And they paid him royalties for the Spawn movie. A movie can make you millions just from the royalties, depending on how the agreement goes.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I like that.
The Spawn
I got this for
movie
Christmas,
itself
man.
hardly made millions.
What you got there, Genome? Hold on, I didn't see it. What was it?
Oh, hold on, that's my Jim Morrison McFarlane figurine I got for Christmas. I don't know how many years ago.
Oh, nice.
Guy.
Come on, light my fire.
Yeah.
So I don't have a whole lot of toys or like that, but that's I've never actually taken it out of the box.
Sure you don't. Sure you don't.
Well, anyways, getting off that uncomfortable subject about adult toys, Mr. Comic Head, you want to give us the final tally?
Yeah, it was 2.5.
Bam.
Boy, I'm 3 for 3.
I'm 2 for 3. I'm nipping at your heels.
It's going to be tough to sleep tonight.
Not everybody's agreeing with me, but I'm right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They should be.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I forgot to check the IG post. I'll put the comment up there. Are you sure Highly was grading the Aquaman book? With these grades?
No. He did. I specifically told him that it was this book, and plus it has the Hulk 340 on the Instagram page. So
he was out of his mind thinking about the hurricane coming towards him.
Well, that's already past Florida.
Right. Well, I was trying to help him out.
And sometimes people go off their memory. I'm curious if he gave it a fresh eyes read.
Maybe
that cover is very alluring. You can look at that cover and say, "Oh yeah, that book was badass."
Mm-hmm.
Back to when you were 12 and it was out on the comic rack, you were like, "Oh yeah, that was the best comic ever."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
you know what though too, and back then that was kind of the age of the speculator, and a lot of guys didn't read their comics, dude. I mean, a lot of guys that I knew never read their stuff, which was weird to me because I read everything that I bought, even if I wasn't supposed to. So yeah, probably like I've never even opened this book before.
I read every comic I ever bought.
Yeah, I know. It never made sense to me either, but I mean, I guess it makes sense from a financial standpoint, but I like comics, so
probably several times over.
Well, I guess I haven't read every comic I've bought since I was older, but when I was a kid, I did. I just buy them by the stack now, so it's hard to read everything.
I mean, what else did you do during the summer? That's what I did all damn summer. So,
oh man, I bought some.
All right.
This summer.
So we're down to basically the final category here, and that's concept. This is before we get to the overall score. So concept, I go ahead and lead this one off, I guess. let's dig in here a little bit. Let me get my timer reset. And let me try not to bore you for 2 minutes. All right. So, concept of this book. Concept. Basically, the hero clash. Man, they did this a lot in the late 80s and early 90s. They put two heroes on the cover, even insinuated they were going to fight, and that just sold a bunch of books, you know? So you basically take two pretty hot properties in the Hulk and Wolverine, and you throw them together in the same book and watch it sell, 200,000 units or whatever. You put the hottest artist at the time on the book as well, so let's make that 300,000 books, sold. So there's the concept. I want to make money. This is a money grab concept. But you got to put out books like that to make money, right? So you can put out the more boring and Doc Samson kind of stories. You know what I mean? This is the kind of thing that keeps people interested in a series, is when you put out little like tent poles like this. There's nothing new or innovative about this at all. It's just putting two people who are in an iconic fight back together again for fan service and lots of sales. So just looking at it like that, it's pretty effective, but it doesn't do anything new. There's nothing new to be had here whatsoever. The only thing it may be slightly new is learning a little bit more about what makes the Hulk tick as far as his powers go in this form. But other than that, you don't find anything new about the characters other than Wolverine's sudden Princess Diaries kind of outlook on life. There's not a whole lot to say on this concept. It's just, the boardroom of guys, I'm not sure if it was DeFalco or Shooter at this point, but probably sitting in a room saying, hey, Hulk's been slowing down a little bit, so let's throw Wolverine there for a story arc or two and see what happens. I think Cosmic Spider-Man hit the Incredible Hulk around this time too, so it was a pretty good ploy of putting popular characters in there to kind of bolster his sales, I think. But nothing wrong with it. That's what you do, man. In the business, it's to make money. So I just see this one as a cash grab. It really wasn't inventing anything new, reinventing the wheel, as it were. And they just went with a sure thing. So solid business plan. But just as far as the overall concept, I just give it a 2. It's just basically just another comic book with two heroes fighting in it and nothing else going on. So it doesn't progress any new storylines or other than this Snow Globe girl, whoever that is. That's 2. It's just run the mill hero fight. All right, Dave. I don't know if you want to fill your glass again for the concept or not, but looks like you might be in a warm, glowy place right now. So maybe you're good. I don't know. So what do you think about the concept of this book? Is this focus group special, or is this a real innovation happening here?
Well, it's definitely not particularly innovative. But the concept was good. Hulk 181 and 180, 181, and 182 were such a big deal, right? Like they're such an iconic thing that bringing these two guys back again seemed like a no-brainer, but it took like almost 15 years, right? Mm-hmm. So the concept of these two guys fighting is pretty sound. That's the whole reason that I feel this book is undervalued, is the fact that it's only the second time they ever fought. And the way that the movies are kind of going, there's a good chance, they're going to play fan service with the movies as well and have Hulk versus Wolverine. Now, most people can't just, go out and buy a copy of 181. So you got to go to this one, 340. And it does have a very recognizable cover. Crappy cover, but it's very recognizable. The concept of the book is what sold this book, right? As soon as you saw the idea of Hulk and Wolverine right there on the cover fighting, dude, you were buying it. It didn't matter if you had never bought the Hulk before, but you were an X-Men fan, you were all over this book, right? So the concept is basically, let's play fan service to try and sell as many comic books as possible in the month of February, right? 1988. I still say, if those two characters end up in a movie together and fight, this book is going to see a big jump in value. 181, 180, 182 will see a bigger jump, but a lot of people will be heading for this one, which you can get for, probably less than $100 or around the $100 mark. in, very fine near mint condition kind of deal. But you certainly can't get a 181 for that kind of price. Concept wise, like I said, I like it, but I think it's not really their concept as much. So I docked them a little bit for that one. It was actually, my highest score at a 3.
3. Wow, pretty solid. Definitely a marked improvement from your last scores, that's for sure, for this book. So 3 it is for Mr. Miracle. All right. Well, Kenny, you look pretty chill back there yourself. I don't know if you've been hitting the yak or whatever since you've been back there, but why don't
What's
you
in my
grace
cup?
us
You
with...
don't know.
Yeah. So Macho Head, why don't you tell us what's within your cup and what's within your mind about the concept of this book?
Well, I mean, as far as concept, I think it's the only thing I can say about concept is, hey, let's have Wolverine and Hulk fight again. I don't think there's much else to the board meeting on this one than that. So, as far as that goes, cool. Especially considering this is only the second time that they square up since 181, which is almost a couple hundred issues prior to that. So it's not like they went back to the well right away. They let it build. They let Wolverine build up some notoriety before they had him duke it out again. I'm not going on execution, right? We're just talking concept.
Yep.
So I think that's a good call. I think I don't know if there's any two characters that I think are as fun and well, I don't want to say well matched because they're not. I guess they are well matched, but they're like great foils to each other. I think the Hulk Wolverine battle dynamic is more interesting than the Thing Hulk battle dynamic. I think these two guys are just the coolest pair, and they're both heroes too, which kind of makes it funny. It's not even like a hero villain dynamic that you want to see them scrap. These two guys, I think, are the coolest two characters in comics to see go head to head. Great dynamic, huge, massive, lumbering Hulk, and a little short, indestructible Canuck Wolverine. It's just visually cool. They can, because there's few characters that either of them can really unleash on. Wolverine rarely can just unleash on characters in comic books and just tear them to shreds and gut them. They usually reserve it for like robots for Wolverine to slash and gash because it's just too violent, And Hulk, he can like pop people's heads off and he can totally destroy people that he gets his hands on too. But he doesn't really go there with a lot of characters. But you got the indestructible Wolverine. You can rip him in half like he did in I forget what series, but the Ultimate series.
Yeah, Hulk versus Wolverine. Yeah.
Yeah, he tears him in half. It's like you can't do that with any other characters that you plan to use again in continuity. So Wolverine's the guy that you can straight rip him in half, crush his head, do whatever you want to him, make cool pages out of it, and Wolverine can let loose with his claws and gash up his stomach like he did in this issue, rip his guts out, and the Hulk will heal from it. So this is, I guess, more on a meta of these two characters together. I think is really awesome. But as far as the concept of this book, let's duke them out. Let's do an issue about it. Cool. I gave it a 3.5 just because I think, like you said, the concept is sound. But at this point, it wasn't like a tired. If they did it now today, it could almost be a tired concept. But as of this issue, it wasn't. So kudos, 3.5.
All right, 3.5. Much better than serviceable, better than average there. Kenny. Yeah, great points.
Well,
And, that's probably a point I probably should have made because I know like a lot of characters, especially in like a lot of Marvel comics, they couldn't be seen like dicing each other up and disemboweling each other. So yeah, there is that pretty cool dynamic between those two. It's not really like they're evenly matched, but yeah, they can both kind of let loose on each other. So that's what we used to do when we were deployed. We put our liquor in the Gatorade bottles. But all right, so we're up to our final grader for the overall concept. So Mr. Metarog, what's your idea? Hit, miss, somewhere in between? Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, first let me just announce that I'm a teetotaler, so what you're getting from me here is pure, unadulterated, and unclouded judgment here. But except for the mental deficiencies of old age, which I cannot do anything about. But regardless, I think Kenny is pretty close to where I'm going here. I remember when this came out in 1987. I was there. At that point, I believe I had just stopped working at the LCS, but I was like I haunted the place, right? I was there almost every other day, and this was a big deal. We knew months before this was Christmas time, and the place was packed because the Wolverine was at this point one of the heights of his popularity. He had gone through his miniseries. He had started to lead the X-Men. And, in Secret Wars, they were both in there, and they kind of, met, and they kind of, were together in a sense, but the X-Men were kind of a separate group, but they never really clashed. And after that, people started writing, hey, one of these two guys going to mix it up. One of these two guys going to mano a mano. And years later, we had to wait. Keep waiting. It wasn't the right writer. It wasn't the right time. And then here you have almost a perfect storm. The most popular character at the time, Wolverine, and you had, one of the top characters, but certainly one of the, top when he became the Gray Hulk. That was something that was kind of novel, and people wanted to see what that was about. And you had McFarlane, which was a superstar at the time, maybe with Liefeld, but to me, Liefeld really didn't come till a little later or into much more popularity. So he was the superstar, and this was, I think, a very well done concept. Yeah, it's a money grab. Of course it is. They have to do this every once in a while. You have to have those red letter days, where you're in the black and way up. It's like, Black Friday. And this was right before Christmas, I remember, right before the end of the year. And they needed to do something to up their spreadsheet there. And this was it. Brilliantly done, I thought. Honestly, it could have been done better. I don't believe that the writer was the right writer. I don't believe that the artist was necessarily the right one for story readers like myself. But as far as the concept, as far as the hype, as far as selling, as far as getting the recognition out there, as far as getting the word out, this was very well done. And so I give it a 3.5 all day long.
All right. Another one says it's much more than serviceable. 3.5. You had a unique perspective on things too, working in LCS back there. So, yeah, you knew the hype was real. Now, did McFarlane have a pretty, not a long run, but he was on Incredible Hulk for a little while, wasn't he? I remember he did the Cosmic Spider-Man tie-in one.
About a year, I'd say.
Yeah.
About a year. Yeah.
I thought he had a little bit of run there. So, yeah. All right. So, we got all of our graders' notes, crew scores in. So now it's time for the fifth grader. You, chat, please put your scores in the chat, and we will tabulate them momentarily.
I told you there'd be sparks flying tonight, guys. I told you.
Oh.
Had some sparks. Or Mr.
And
McFarlane.
There's alcohol with those sparks, so fires can ensue.
Yeah, and mine is just Gatorade for the record. I'm also a teetotaler there, Metarog.
Okay.
I got a pint glass full of water, so don't feel bad, guys.
Yeah, me too. I got water with lemon. That's about as daring as I get.
Yeah.
You look like you're ready to pitch that thing, Dave. He's ready to treat that thing like a candy slab.
Yeah.
Just drop
it wasn't $100 comic, he would, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That thing $100 nowadays? I didn't even price it.
Is that a new Godzilla drawing that you did, Dave? And your mic is muted, by the way.
Yeah, that's a new Godzilla drawing.
Ooh, I haven't seen that. That looks pretty gnarly.
Sweet. Yeah, sweet.
That's what Godzilla looks like after a weekend in Tijuana. Yep. You got that burning sensation down below. Look at him go.
Oh, man. Montezuma's revenge on Godzilla. That's a bad combination right there, man. Oh, boy. Okay. Let's see. Are the votes in here? Everybody in? I think so. All right. You ready, Kenny?
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with Hialeah's. He did not give an overall grade, so this is his last grade. He gave the concept a 4.5.
Very consistent.
I tell you, he's big on this one. He's big. Does
he owe Todd McFarlane money or something? What?
Yeah, maybe he has stock in McFarlane toys or something. All right, let's see. Unreleased Emmy, ain't gonna lie. He said, I'm sorry, I thought that was a 1. It says, I don't have one and I want one. Well, maybe Dave's is for sale. Anyway. So Steve Whiting 3, Simeon 4, Joe. Now we're talking about concept here, right? 3, Grayman 3.5. I guess Tim had to leave because gotta go, guys. All right, Tim. And I guess that's it.
Okay. Okie dokie, which means it's a 3.5 for the concept. Is that are you just clean
I'm
sweep
playing
this
the
week?
lottery tomorrow. There's no
Mhm.
lottery in Mississippi, but I would.
Yeah, buddy.
Well,
There's
that's
no
it.
lottery in your state?
No lottery.
Dave, he's threatening to take your throne, Dave.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Dave's been too polarizing the past couple
He's
of
been too polar. Dave?
Everybody has
No.
a day, you know.
No, that's as demure as you get.
Well, we're going to go ahead and move on to our final grade, and that's the overall score. Sometimes we use the aggregate. Sometimes we make a judgment call, but usually we try to keep it pretty objective. So we're going to start with who we led off with originally. So, Dave, why don't you go and give us your overall score?
Hang on. One for the road here.
Oh, dear.
Yes.
This stream's sponsored by Crown Royal.
I tell you, is he going to monetize the channel with that? I mean,
Oh yeah, if they want to sponsor us, I'll be all over it.
You're making D-Runk look bad, man. He's sitting there just drinking beer. Come on now.
American beer too. Terrible. Terrible.
It's true. It's true. It's terrible stuff.
We'll go there. So well, McFarlane's such a piece of shit, right? Like the whole thing. It just reminds me of this whole thing that he had with Alan Moore and Miracle Man, and then he came out with the whole idea of, okay, well, Alan Moore sued him and he won, and he wasn't allowed to use a character, so he got all pissy, and then so he made the Man of Miracles, right? I'm like, fuck off, right? Like maybe I'm gonna make Bat the guy, right? That's gonna be my new comic book, and he lives in the Bat Tree house and or fucking drives around on the Bat auto, right? Like, no, idiot. Hate Todd McFarlane so much. He's always this. And when I started to hate the guy, and I believe it was Spawn number 5, and I was reading the letters pages, and there was a kid's letter who had written into Todd McFarlane, and he didn't like everything that Todd was doing with Spawn. So he's like, oh, I had some suggestions and this and that, and if you did this, and Todd got all pissy, and he published the kid's letter in there with all the spelling mistakes in it, and made fun of him for not being able to spell as well. And I'm like, fuck you, man. There's never been anything that Todd McFarlane has published that didn't have a proofreader go over it with a fucking fine-tooth comb before it got published. And he published a kid's letter like that, and the man's in his 30s at that point, and this kid is probably 10, 12 years old, and he's being a piece of shit to him. Fuck you, you cunt. And I never bought another fucking Spawn issue after that, and I hate Todd McFarlane. He made me stop collecting Hulk. He made me stop collecting the Amazing Spider-Man because I hated him so goddamn much. The only Image Comics that I took on was Spawn, because all my friends were like, everybody has to be Spawn. So I bought a few issues. After issue 5, I was like, go fuck yourself. I am not fucking interested in you, and I never have been after that. I have a few issues that have Todd McFarlane on it, simply because they have value to them, and I'm always adding value to my comic book collection. Other than that, man, I wouldn't pay $1 for an issue that was just a Spawn issue or whatever. That man sucks as a human being. He's a fucking rip-off artist. Only thing he's interested in is merchandising everybody else's ideas for his own gain. He has no original concepts. All of his stuff is fucking ridiculous. He's a piss poor artist and an even worse writer and an even worse human being. So, that being said, the overall of this book, I give it. What did I write down? I'll say it's serviceable and call it a 2.5.
Wow.
Okay, 2.5. That was a
He did his overall thoughts on McFarlane,
Yeah, it's a-
not necessarily the
bad part-
issue.
After all that he said, he's still
Yeah.
rated higher than Aliens vs. Predator book.
that was like, you know, your
What's that say about me?
diatribe, your diatribe, faint praise, and then you give him a average score. I mean, wow,
Overall,
that's amazing.
well,
The book, the
I went-
issue.
The book, not McFarlane, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I
He would
don't.
get a 0. I know that.
And the only reason it gets an
Oh.
overall is because it has two of my favorite characters in it, Wolverine and the Hulk, right? And I would
fair.
want
That's
to see
fair.
those guys like throw down. It'd be fun.
That's fair.
Okay, then. Well, it's been kind of hard to top that, so we're just gonna get out of here.
Wow.
No, but Kenny, what do you think? Do you have any personal reservations against Todd himself, or is
Yeah,
this
you know what? Now
right
that
up
you
your
mention it,
alley?
Miracle got me fired up. Let me tell you something. This piece
Always
of shit,
on,
Todd
man.
McFarlane. All right,
Do it, Kenny, do it.
this piece of shit out here in these streets selling merchant. No, that letters column thing does sound like a pretty douchey move. I didn't know that. I don't like that. Other than that, I feel like he's just kind of capitalistic, which I guess hate it or love it. You know, we're in America. You know, as far as the book goes, cover obviously is the shining light on this issue. It's kind of crazy to think that how lame the inside of the book is, that he pulls off a pretty good cover, man. I've never been a big Todd McFarlane guy like Spawn and whatnot. I never really read much of his stuff, so I don't know if his interior artwork evolved over time. I'm hoping that it did. I know guys like Rob Life. My biggest beef with Rob Liefeld is that he never really seemed to evolve. You know, it's these self-taught guys that and especially once they make it big and start making some money, I don't think they really care about really going back and honing their craft and listening to an art professor teach them something. So hopefully, I don't know if his art has stayed stagnant, but as of this issue, it was on the interior. But the cover, uh, he nailed it. You know, the story I thought was really lame. You know, how too bad too, because it's like you get the great Wolverine cameo, you're looking forward to it, and you read it and you're like, this is not Wolverine. This is you know, sounds like, I don't know, man, James Taylor lyrics coming out of Wolverine's mouth. It was very odd. His inking was really bad on the inside. The concept is what it is. I thought it was pretty good. So that's about it. I'll leave my recap brief in that regard. And let's see. It was a 3. My overall, I always just aggregate my numbers. It came to 3, and I think this is the first issue where I had such far end goalposts of scores. Like I can't think of a book that I had 4.5 for one category and 1.5 for the other. Cover was 4.5, interior art was 1.5, which is even crazier because it's the same artist that has those two different grades for their artwork, essentially. So really nutty, screwy book. Story was a 2, concept was a 3.5 because you can't go wrong with it. Granted, they didn't come up with it, pairing these two guys together, but right place, right time. So yeah, I give it overall a 3.
All right, 3.0, pretty solid score for Mr. Comic Head. Yeah, you do have pretty high outliers there, 4.5, 1.5. And it's funny, it's the same category, art, really. So what's the difference, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's funny, though. You can like read like an Eric Larson book or Ron Lim book, and you see the cover, and the art looks exactly the same inside. So it's like, why didn't that carry over in this case as much? Or maybe it did. Maybe we're just fooling ourselves because the cover looks so cool. I don't know. But so, Mr. Metarog, what's your thought on the overall? I mean, was this an amazing thing, or are you just going to go with the aggregate and play it safe?
I didn't really go with the aggregate because I don't think it's fair to give it higher standards based upon non-story and art elements. So I kind of graded everything on a sliding scale. By the way, I think the cover is better also because it was inked by Bob Wyatt, and that gave it a little more texture. I think we talked about the lines, and also you can hide a lot in a one panel splash versus, you know, storytelling and action. Those kind of things are a little bit harder to pull off than a cover. But anyway, let's get to the overall here. I think the cover is well done, and again, for all the reasons I already said, I gave it a 4, and I'm very comfortable with that score. It has some downfalls, but overall, with artistic license and with the concept of the cover, I think it was well done. The story, I gave it a little better than average. It really, it could have been so much better with just somebody. I think this was totally the wrong writer for this kind of story. A battle issue like this, there should have been more quick hits. There should have been, more of an overarching dialogue, not all this internal dialogue that, was very Shakespearean and was very, almost suffering. It just didn't make sense to me. But I did like the battles, how they were set up. I wish it wasn't so verbose. I wish it wasn't so, just dialing in, because it doesn't make much sense that way. But I still thought it was enjoyable, the overarching story. Interior art, very disappointing. The lack of detail, the very weird, hyper stylized art. Again, this was not the right artist for this particular story, and that's why I bumped it down rather than up, which I would do if it was a very solidly told story art-wise. But it just had so many downfalls. I gave it average grade, and that was a stretch, because I just like some of the static poses that he had, and I do like some of the panel layouts, but it could have been so much better with a little more detail, better line work, better coloring, and better inking. Again, that's a lot to ask, I know, but the concept I thought was solid, considering the time. Marvel gave people what they wanted. They brought it out on the holidays, where they knew that it was going to have a lot of exposure. Very well done concept overall, and the cover kind of, segues into that concept of selling the comic. But overall, I think it would be like a 3.5 or so, but I can't go there because the story and the art just are so disappointing relative to what it could be, the potential that it had. This should have been an easy 4.5 book if they would have had some kind of better combination of art appropriateness and writing that didn't wax philosophical, that didn't think this was some kind of Claremontian epic. So I gave it just like Kenny, a 3.
All right, 3 from Mr. Metarog. Interesting stuff. So kind of pretty consistent so far in the overall. We'll obviously be right in the middle of the road. Some stay a little better than average. So let's see what I wind up doing. I'm going to stick to the aggregate on this one, just because I don't want my relative dislike for the artwork itself or the artist himself to kind of taint my score a little bit. So I'm going to go with the aggregate and stick to it in this one. No fudging. So for the cover, I gave it a 4. It's epic. I mean, I like it. I mean, it takes a lot for me to say that I like a McFarlane cover a lot, and I like this one. Yeah, there's a couple issues with it, but I mean, that's just nitpicks. It's pretty awesome. Let's get down to it. It's a pretty awesome looking cover, and it does the job of making the reader want to pick up the book and read it. So, yeah, that's a big win there. Got my highest score for the book. For the story inside, I gave it a 2. I think the story would have been so much better if they would have started with the fight and maybe shown how they got that way. When you break a fight up over the entire issue, it seems really epic and amazing. And they just kind of were together in like the last third of the book. And so it drug a little bit until then, because that's all people wanted to see in this book was the fight. So they don't, and then once again, they don't want to see Wolverine go all Gilmore Girls and talk about his feelings for the first half of the book, So just get down and throw it. So I think they should at least started with the splash page of the engine hitting the ground and pissing the Hulk off or whatever, and then the battle just ensued in there, and then they could have gone through with a narrative and explained how it all came together, kind of a Memento style, whatever. I think that would have been a little bit better. But so I gave it a 2. Interior art was a huge drop off from the cover. I mean, while it was solid, I do like some of the action scenes, not so much how the characters are drawn, but I like some of like I think it was Kenny saying the first person angle was really cool. That was a nice little nifty thing when it showed him throwing the rocks. It's like you don't see something like that too often. So no complaints on the actual action scenes themselves. It's just that some of the characters look pretty funky, and that's just that's his style of drawing, and I've never cared for it. So gave that one a 2.5, right in the middle. Concept, of course, I didn't give it a real high mark because basically it's just a hero mashup, hero fight mashup. It was real popular once again back in the late 80s, early 90s to do that. It helped boost up sales briefly for a book, and that's all it was good for. It was kind of cool to see that it was like a reminiscing kind of feel. It was like, oh, it's them again, you know? So they're kind of pulling from the not too distant past and throwing them back on the big screen again. So that was okay, but I still only gave it a 2 to the concept because it didn't really do anything new. The book itself, I mean, it's just a good idea. So, and Marvel was full of good ideas back then. So this didn't really stand out that much. So the overall aggregate for this one was 2.5, and I think it earns that score pretty well. My thoughts on the art style aside, it's just a solid middle of the road book. And if it was any other hero duo back then duking out, it really wouldn't get a whole lot of attention. But it was 2 heavy hitters, so you know people did pay attention. They weren't the characters I enjoyed that much, but you know, some people obviously liked it because it's become pretty memorable and pretty sought after issue. So, yeah, if there's ever a serviceable book written, this is probably it. This one's going to get a 2.5 from me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's going to do it. I guess I could do a quick aggregate for the grader's notes, or the 5th grader, plus 2.5, plus 3.5. Plus 2. Well, looks like this is going to be a 4. Actually, it's a 3 from the aggregate. So,
Woohoo!
yeah. So, wow.
5 for
100%.
5, Dave. 5 for 5.
Every dog has a day, really.
I know. Every even a broken clock's right twice a day. I know.
But yeah, so interesting book, and it was a last-second pick. So hopefully we're a little more organized next time. But them's the break. So hopefully we brought you an interesting show. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and just talk about a little bit about what's going on everyone's channel in the near future, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up and say our goodbyes and announce our next book and or project. We might have some news for you this evening. So Kenny, what's going on with your channel in the near future?
My particular channel, Comic Head 84, is I'm going to drop another edition of my top 10 picks for I think September 17th. I already recorded it. I just got to hit the publish button. So maybe later tonight you'll see that pop up on my channel. But maybe the most exciting thing on the horizon is tomorrow night. The trivia show is back, brother.
Woohoo!
Yeah, and I'm rebranding it. I think I'm really going to lean into the game show aspect of it. We were kind of playing with the idea of Brain Busters because I was doing it as part of a Mega Power Hour segment. That's a wrestling move. I thought it was appropriate, but we're going to lean full game show, and tomorrow will be episode 2 of Name That Key, and it's on the Comic Heads channel with the Z. Make sure you're subscribed, and I guess I can announce the two brains that are going to be dueling tomorrow night. And it's going to be none other than Highly a Comic Bro
Ooh.
and JB Discovery Bay Comics.
Ooh.
So
Whoa.
we're
Nice.
gonna test their brain power, and I think Miracle himself is probably going to be on an upcoming episode, which should be fun.
Nice.
It's going to be hard to stump him. I suspect.
What time, Kenny?
So tomorrow, 9 p.m.
Okay.
Eastern on the Comic Heads channel, and I think we're probably gonna do a Mega Power Hour, either right before or after that, probably on Biggie Shack's channel. So yeah, that's tomorrow's on the docket for me.
Nice.
All right, thanks, Kenny. So, Mr. Metarog, what do you got coming up? I know you just did your weekly roundup. So, what else is on the horizon on your channel?
Well, on Saturday, I'm actually going to be on I believe it's the Go To Geeks channel. We're doing a special video on Charlton Comics, along with Charlton 66, Night Tiger, and Lawrence of the Go To Geeks. So I think that's going to be, I don't remember what time it is, but it's going to be Saturday evening sometime. And I'm going to be doing an entry for Comic Heads. I got my duo already, and
Nice.
they're 2 very obscure things, but you know, that's how I roll, you know.
Yeah.
And on Tuesday, I'm going to be announcing the end of my contest. If you haven't entered, all you got to do is go to my August 20th video and pick a comic that you want me to hunt for in the upcoming con that I'm going to. And if I find it first on any given day that I go, you win it along with some other prizes. So that will be on Tuesday. And then, of course, as every Thursday, I do the roundup.
All right, good stuff coming up there. That was a really inventive contest you're running there. I like that one a lot. I don't remember if I even put anything in there or not, but I don't know. Keep your eyes out. I don't know. You know what I like.
You still have I need a specific issue. I can't do that.
No,
I like
no.
stuff. I need a.
Hmm.
I need.
How about Legend of Aquaman #1? Oh,
if that's what you want, write it in the chat.
I can always use another copy of it, right? No, but all right, thanks for that. We're gonna go ahead and end this on the two Daves notes. So, Dave #1, what do you got coming up on your channel?
Well, as usual, I'll have my Wednesday video that I like to put out. Always trying to keep that consistent. Definitely, trying to convince Kenny to put me on there, but he's a little worried about his trivia show of me running the gambit there. But
no, you're in, brother. Next week you're in. I love it.
I know. Who knows, man? I mean, line somebody up. I mean, maybe Metarog, he'd be a hell of a challenge, I'm sure.
It's gonna be a Todd McFarlane edition of
I'll just wipe him out because I know him all. I hate him so much I just obsess over him. I'm not kidding. Yeah, like there's lots of guys. I don't have a challenger. I don't know who the challenger is going to be. Maybe Metarog, maybe Unruly if he fucking gets a hold of Kenny. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, that seat is still open, so we might as well put out the battle call right now. Whoever wants to go mano a mano, brain on brain with Miracle, shoot me a message. The spot's open if you're brave enough.
I'll shoot Todd a message and see what he says.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't know. I got the Red and White show on Sunday, which is like a big comic show that happens here. So I'm super excited about that. Gonna go look for some serious books on that day. But that's not YouTube. That's just me being excited about something else. I don't know. I'm gonna weasel my way into somebody's live chat sooner or later, so I'll be out there.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, the world needs weasels too. There's too many rodents around there. So, I guess I will self-aggrandize here for just a moment before we end the show. So, for those of you in the know, I've been doing my interview series of late, and unrelated fact, we may have had a industry professional watching this evening. So I'm not gonna say any names, but so hopefully we didn't just completely crash and burn in the eyes of the industry. But it wasn't topic for all, don't worry. But yeah, so I've been doing some interviews lately, and I haven't put out too much comic content. I need to do another review. I was going to review Punisher #1. I need to do that one, being he's just my favorite character of all time. It's been way too long without me doing a video about him. I haven't done much motovlogging. It's been really busy here lately. I haven't really had much time to ride and put all the gear on, so maybe some of that here in the near future. But I'll be doing the last episode of my Friday 13th movie review series. That's the 2009 remake. Hopefully it should be out this weekend. I might work on it some tomorrow and then finish it up. And that'll do it. There's actually a contest involved with this too. If you go to my Freddy vs. Jason video and put the hashtag Jason Lives in there, you are in the running to win the contest. That's all you got to do. You don't have to answer any questions or anything like that if you don't want to. Just hashtag Jason Lives on the Freddy vs. Jason video and you're good to go. My last interview was with Deborah Voorhees of Friday 13th fame. Upcoming next, hopefully during the week, but the storm might have slowed things down a little bit. I'm actually going to be interviewing John Beatty, famed inker of the Stars, part of the dynamic duo of Mike Zeck and Beatty fame. So look for that, hopefully coming around next week sometime. We're still coordinating times and all that, so there's that to look forward to. And I mean, other than just the random stuff that I put on my channel, that's it. That's the main stuff that's going on.
Nice. I can't wait for that last review.
Okay, so now we have to decide something. We got to decide if our next episode is going to be of the print medium or the video medium. So let's do a online kind of feeling out process here. First, let's talk to the graders here and see what they think. So, Kenny, what's your thoughts about the next show?
Hey, I'm always down to mix it up, man. So if you want the next edition to be the Graders Notes film edition, and that's what he's talking about, chat. We're talking using the Grader's Notes formula on a film. So it will be 5 different categories, and we'll grade it the same way we do the books, just on a film from the comic universe. And I think that's a great idea.
And the comic, it'll be a comic book kind of film. So we haven't exactly picked the movie yet, but that's kind of the idea. So, Mr. Miracle, what's your thoughts on the? You want to stick to the book, or should we do a visual medium, video actually medium?
Yeah, man, let's switch it up a bit. We've been talking about the video stuff for a while. Let's do the video. I think
video.
Yeah.
I like it. It's something different, but it still ties in and allows us to spread our proverbial wings. So, Metrog, what's your thoughts on the whole thing?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to mix it up here every once in a while. And you know, we've thrown 2 curveballs in a row, so why not 3? You know, so
hell yeah, that's what we do.
You know, so yeah, I'm down for it. I'm down for it. I've reviewed movies in the past, so I have no problems with it.
That's the best comment of the night there, really, Simeon, I gotta say. But I concur. Let's do a movie. We'll announce it later on, maybe at some point. We haven't quite picked it out yet. We're still kind of in the formulating stage. But yeah, look for a movie for the next one. It's gonna be a comic book tie-in movie. So it could be animated, it could be regular celluloid, and you'll just have to see. But that's going to be up for the next show. So, all right. So, is any of you guys anything further to add, or should we go ahead and call it a night now?
Oh no, one thing. I fucking hate Todd McFarlane.
I knew it.
I knew that was coming. It was like the comic where the Hulk is leaving and he hits Wolverine right over the head before the last panel.
You know, that was funny because no one mentioned that. I thought that he had smashed Wolverine into pulp at the end of that book. I had to look at that panel like 6 times. Of course, I was on my phone. I couldn't see it real well. Yeah. But did anyone else think that too?
Yeah, it wasn't well executed art-wise. Surprise, surprise.
No,
but that it seemed like it. But no, I think he just hit him and he just sort of splatted somewhere.
Because he even had like the Wolverine costume colors underneath. So it was like, that was a total throw off. I'm like, because I thought it was funny. I was like, this is good. But
it's funny, but it wasn't well executed at all art-wise.
No. Yeah. And really, somebody wants a best boy grip category, so we'll have to see about adding that one. So those unsung heroes of the movie land. Well, I want to thank all of our loyal watchers this evening for hanging on for this almost 2-hour show, for being an integral part of Graders Notes and putting your hard thought and effort into giving us grades so we can see how they match up to ours. So we couldn't do it without you, and we look forward to doing this every 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, it'll be on someone's channel. I don't know if it'll be mine or Mr. Miracle's or it won't be Kenny's, but
maybe comic.
It'll be somewhere, and we'll announce it hopefully a little ahead of time, and we'll tell you what movie we're going to be reviewing. So hopefully you'll can watch it ahead of time and see how your score sign up with us. So on that note, let's do you all have anything else to add? I'm going to go ahead and call it an evening.
Yeah, leave the people alone already.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's best to go.
Oh,
Oh, there's Hialeah. Look at this.
There's Hialeah.
Oh man, now he comes in. Your scores, Hialeah. Were you grading Aquaman or were you grading?
I told
Hialeah. Dude,
I don't care what you say. I love this issue.
Watch the last 10 minutes. Watch the wrap up. You might be your mind might change a little bit.
Especially Mr. Miracles. Oh
yeah,
man.
So that might have to get edited into something else later on. But
that's one for the ages.
So Hulk smash, and we are out of here. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, this is Genome and his cast of rogues out.
Yeah.
And